Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 14th March. The news items that we have picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 10. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, NGT to monitor coal dust pollution in Vizag port. So this is regarding National Green Tribunal. We have discussed this quite often now. It was established in 2010 to look into all environment related cases. We have already seen the judiciary is overburdened, so there is a need for environment related cases to be specifically heard and quickly wrapped up. So that is why NGT has been established. It is chaired by former Supreme Court Judge. Justice Swatantra Kumar is present chair of NGT, and it is not bound by the code of procedures which we have. Code of civil procedure code. That is not what it binds it. It has to adhere to principles of natural justice. Means what the way adjudication has to be done, justice has to be provided. Like for example, no person can be a judge in his own case. No person can be forced to give evidence against himself. So all such cases, a person should be given an opportunity to be heard before sentence is sentenced as such. So such provisions would be adhered to, but no detailed provision would be there of procedure would be there, so that delays take place. So that is the reason why delays take place in the judicial system. So that is what will be not present here. So it can quickly wrap up cases. Ideally within 6 months cases should be wrapped up. So even Supreme Court has transferred many environment related cases to NGT. The most famous example is of the River Ganga pollution case, which is an old case of around 1985-86, which has been transferred by the Supreme Court to NGT now. So NGT is having hearings on this. So presently this is a PIL filed by an NGO on NGT about air pollution in Visakhapatnam here in Andhra Pradesh, and that is why NGT has given its order that there needs to be measures taken to prevent air pollution caused due to this spread of coal dust. So this spread of coal dust in Visakhapatnam and other areas of the city have to be controlled. So AP Pollution Control Board and Visakhapatnam Port Trust both have been ordered to submit quarterly reports to the NGT. So a deadline has been set that December 2018 is the deadline, means next year's end. By that time, steps need to be taken to control air pollution. Means there should be perceptible reduction of dust emission and improvement of air quality. And if that does not take place, then NGT would take stringent measures. And it is saying that we would be constrained to invoke polluters pay principle. Means if you are polluting, then you have to pay heavy compensation for it too. And also there can be steps taken to restrain this port trust. Means Visakhapatnam Port Trust would be restrained from handling coal cargo. So such extreme steps would also be taken, is being clarified here. The next news item is probe sought into death of Nigerian in Bengaluru. So there is this African community settled in Bengaluru and they are facing atrocities, and they allege that there are police brutalities against them. So this is a case of racial discrimination actually in India. So here in Bengaluru in 2016 too, there was an incident which is fresh in the memory of the minds of these people, and also present case was of a Nigerian. This was a businessman from Nigeria who was killed. The police say he died in an accident while he was trying to run away from them, and the people here, African community here, are demanding that there should be an investigation into the death of this African national. So that is what they are claiming. They say he was a businessman actually. So the case of 2016 which was there was attack on Tanzanian students. So this is mentioned here. Actually what had happened was that a Sudanese national student was drunk, and while driving he hit a local woman here, and she was killed. Actually a mob gathered over there and they beat him up. While he was being beaten up, there were some Tanzanian students here, 4 Tanzanian students including a woman, who saw this incident, and they stopped their car and looked into what the commotion was about, and the mob then turned its anger on them. The woman's clothes were torn off too, and one male student was assaulted. The car was set on fire. So such rage shown by a mob against African nationals was seen in Bengaluru here, and that was a disturbing incident. The next news item is Congress knocks on Supreme Court's doors. So this is regarding the present assembly elections and the results. So in Goa assembly election results, we have already discussed this. There are 40 seats in Goa assembly, out of which 17 were won by INC, Indian National Congress, and 13 were won by BJP. Now, the Goa governor, Mridula Sinha, she has invited Goa's leader. Goa BJP Legislative Party leader is Manohar Parrikar, the present defense minister. He would be sworn in as the chief minister. So this step being taken in Goa is being petitioned against by Congress in the Supreme Court, and it has asked for an urgent petition, and Supreme Court has agreed to it, and this case would be heard by a special bench on the same day when chief minister will be sworn in by Goa governor. So this is the case. What it claims, Congress says that we are the majority, single largest party. Means 20 seats would have been ideal, that they would have formed the government. But since they don't have a majority, 20 plus, then at least they are the single largest party. So no chance was given to them. And BJP, with its clout at the center, even the governor is appointed by the center in every state. So with help of this, even though BJP had no pre-poll alliance with any other party, it has been able to get in, rope in local parties and these smaller parties, independents, and they are claiming majority and forming the government. So since Congress has not been given a chance to, that is what it is protesting against. And it says Supreme Court has to make sure that constitutional norms and values are adhered to, and the decision taken by the governor in his discretionary capacity is arbitrary and action needs to be taken against it. So we'll wait and watch what the Supreme Court says on this matter, because this is a constitutional matter as such. According to the Constitution, what should be the steps taken? Then the next news item is curbs on withdrawal of cash lifted. So the curbs which had been put since November 2016, when demonetization took into effect on November 9, those curbs have finally been completely withdrawn. So now from your savings account, you can have as many withdrawals as you want. There would be no limits. So this has been announced by the government, RBI specifically, and RBI has also said that only 67% of the currency which was in circulation pre-demonetization has come back into circulation now. But since we are seeing cash crunch is not there, means there was a huge amount of cash which was lying idle too. So that is also coming forth through this data. So you can see, according to a recent report of RBI too, 78% of all consumer payments in India is in cash. So cash is essential for the functioning of the economy. So that is also here clear. Then the next news item is India-Pakistan in SCO will ensure security of region, says China. So this is regarding Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It was earlier called Shanghai 5. Then it has been renamed Shanghai Cooperation Organization when the 6th member, Uzbekistan, joined it in 2001. So in 1996, it was formed as Shanghai 5, 2001 Uzbekistan joined, and now 2 more nations are bound to join it, and they are India and Pakistan. So China is, as the name also suggests, it's China is a prominent member here. Also Russia is a member. So both India and Pakistan will be becoming members here. So that is welcomed as such by the nations. So the 5 original members were China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan later. So these will be the members. In 2015, it was decided India and Pakistan would become full members. In 2016 SCO summit, it was signed, the memorandum of obligations was signed by India and Pakistan in this summit in Tashkent, and now in the next summit in 2017, it is expected that they would be formally accepted, and the acceptance process will take place. So this is the 2017 summit of SCO in Astana. This is regarding Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the members here. The observer states you can see. So India, Pakistan were observers earlier. Now they are on the path of becoming full members. Iran and Mongolia are also observers. Iran actually wants to be a full member of SCO since long, but it is said that China is opposing its membership. Russia is keen to have Iran on board, but China is still resistant. The reasons are unclear, it seems. But we know about US-Iran issues also. And this SCO will look into all matters. It's also called a security region for regional security, stability, plus also on politics, trade, economic, science and tech cooperation is sought. So it's a multilateral grouping as such. Then the next news item is Scotland seeks to exit UK. So Scotland, which is part of Britain, is now seeking to exit UK means actually they want a referendum to be held. This is the Scottish Parliament. Scottish minister is asking that a second referendum should be held on Scottish independence. The first one was held in 2014, whether Scotland wants to stay in UK or break up with UK. So in this, voting took place in favor of staying with UK. So 55.3% votes came in favor remaining in UK. So now this Scottish minister here is arguing that the situation has changed because of Brexit. So Brexit vote which has taken place, the referendum which took place on Brexit, people voted, overall Britain voted in favor of Brexit. So Britain is exiting from EU, but Scotland does not want to exit from EU. So if you look at the segregation of the votes for Brexit, it is seen that 62% of Scotland votes were in favor of remaining in EU. They don't want to exit EU. So on this ground, they are demanding that a second referendum should be held now to make it clear that what is the status of Scotland now, what the people want here, whether they want to still stay in Britain or not after Britain is leaving EU. So even the members here, Scotland demands that at least UK should allow them to have a special relation with EU. So either it remains, UK is to remain as a single market, which is not possible now. It is not going to be a part of EU, is clear now, or at least enable Scotland to remain with it. So that is not possible. At least Scotland should be allowed. So that is what they are demanding. So we'll have to wait and watch whether Scotland would be allowed to have a special relation with EU, or would a second referendum would be allowed, and whether Scotland would split from UK. So what's the further developments would take place, we'll have to wait and watch. But this is the status. So this is the history of Scotland and UK. So it was in 1707 that Scotland joined England to form the United Kingdom of Great Britain. So all these terms means, what do they mean? We'll understand through the map. Scotland, England, United Kingdom, Great Britain. This is the map. The country which we know today is United Kingdom. So United Kingdom comprises of Great Britain, this part, and Northern Ireland. So Northern Ireland was retained by United Kingdom. Actually, Ireland was also a colony of UK, the way of Britain actually we should say, as India was too. And it was Annie Besant who had fought for our independence too here. She was an Irish woman, so she was from Ireland. So Ireland is an independent country now, but this Northern Ireland region is still with Britain. It's part of United Kingdom, right? So this Annie Besant is known for the Home Rule League movement. When you study modern history, you come across her. So here in United Kingdom, it is Great Britain plus Scotland, and Great Britain comprises of 3 major constituents: England, Scotland, and Wales. So this is regarding Scotland joining with England to form United Kingdom of Great Britain, right? So this is regarding that. So then Scotland once joined, then there were voting needed to be done. A debate was also held in the House of Lords here because Scotland wanted an independent assembly for itself. So a referendum was also held to create an assembly for itself, but that failed. And then another referendum was held. This passed, and eventually Scottish Parliament was formed in 1997, separate from UK's legislative body. So UK is a highly centralized country. It's a small country. In India, the way we have national legislature, and at state level also we have state assemblies, UK does not have that pattern. So that is why Scotland got its own parliament. So that is why we speak of Scottish Parliament in this news. Presently also we're speaking of Scottish Parliament deciding on a second referendum, right? So that is there. The first Scottish Parliament elections were held in 1999, just few years ago, you can see. Then in 2012, UK devolves more authority to Scotland. So since Scotland was demanding more autonomy, more authority was given to them too. The two governments agreed to a referendum on full independence also, which we just discussed in 2014. This was held, but the vote was in favor of staying with UK, not as a separate entity. So this was the status so far. Now let's see if a second referendum is accepted or what steps are taken. The next news item is China planning 5-fold increase in marine force. So this is a report coming in Chinese media that China is planning to increase its forces in the marine, that is naval forces, from 20,000 to 1 lakh personnel. So this specifically becomes important in the context of Maritime Silk Road, which it is planning, which is part of OBOR, and also which is covering the two prominent ports here, Gwadar and Djibouti. Djibouti is in the Horn of Africa. So here this plus this one aspect plus the conflicts in the East China Sea and South China Sea which China has with various nations. So that is also a concern for it, and that is why it is increasing its marine forces here. So that is maritime defense being increased. So you can see the Korean Peninsula here again is where it wants its security forces to be located. Gwadar, the Djibouti, so Gwadar port here in Pakistan, Djibouti in the Horn of Africa here, and then you have the East China Sea and South China Sea. East China Sea where it has conflict with Japan, and South China Sea where it has conflict with various nations. Philippines, all these nations, Vietnam, all these nations, Malaysia are involved in conflict here. So this is about the maritime Silk Road too. And this is regarding various naval points where China has its presence, and we call this string of pearls. So string of pearls are these, you can see from Hong Kong in China, you can see in South China Sea it has presence in Taiwan, then here you can see in Cambodia, here, then it goes to Myanmar, then in Chittagong in Bangladesh, in Sri Lanka in Hambantota, Maldives, Malé, in Gwadar in Pakistan, and then going till South Sudan, here in Port Sudan, in Sudan, not South Sudan. So here China has its presence and it is trying to encircle India with these pearls, with these naval bases. So this is called string of pearls theory, and this is the prominent oil shipping lanes, world oil shipping lanes. So that is how it has control over this region, China. The next news item is 2016 was the worst year for Syrian children. So this is as per UNICEF report that Syria faced the worst year yet for its younger generation. So at least 652 children have been killed in 2016, and out of these 255 have been killed in or near schools. This is only 2016 data. It says that around 1.7 million children are out of school in Syria. So these are the figures coming out. It has been 6 years since the uprising, popular uprising, people's uprising against President Bashar al-Assad's regime in 2011. So in Syria, if you look at the timeline, you can see here, of course, the problems which the children are facing now are they are driven into child labor, early marriage, they are driven into combat, also fighting with the forces which are here in combat. So these are the concerns here UNICEF has also raised. Then there are problems of addiction, mental disorder, and lifelong health problems which these Syrian youngsters would be facing. And this timeline you can see. So the protests started in 2011. So Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, had been in power for years now, more than a decade, in around 2000 when he came to power. So there were demands for democratic reforms and release of political prisoners in 2011. So it was an autocratic regime here. So in 2011, post the protests, actually forces became stiffer. Assad refused to step down in view of the popular protests as such, and a free Syrian army was formed. So this was formed by these protesters, of course assisted by the Western powers, with the intention of bringing Bashar al-Assad down. So here you can see in Afghanistan we saw Western forces intervened. Even in Iraq, Western forces intervention was there. But in Syria, there is no Western forces intervention directly. They are indirectly supporting. So this Free Syrian Army was supported by the Westerners here. So officers, soldiers left military and formed this Free Syrian Army, means amongst the Syrians here. So they were supported. Then Assad used, of course, the president in power, he used artillery operations against all these insurgents who were trying to bring him down. Ceasefire negotiations started. UN envoy Kofi Annan was the mediator here. Ceasefire was brought in, but then there were repeated violations by Bashar al-Assad, and eventually Kofi Annan also resigned from this post in frustration. Then there were reports of use of chemical weapons, which was confirmed by United Nations that Syria was using chemical weapons. In 2014, we had ISIS in the meanwhile also gained power, Islamic State, and then it had by 2014 gained control of 1/3 of Syria. So these multiple forces emerged in Syria in this crisis situation. Russia intervened eventually with airstrikes, and peace negotiations started in Vienna. Then in 2015, Turkey shot down Russian warplane. So Russia was intervening in Syria, and Turkey, which is a neighbor here, Turkey had its own concerns, and a Russian warplane was shot down by them. That also created a huge furor. Peace talks in Geneva again were held in 2016. We had seen that the ceasefire had come forth too. We have all discussed this in news, the recent events post 2016 Jan. So here we saw ceasefire coming in, but then there were allegations of violation of ceasefire from both sides, from Russian side too, and plus also from US side. So Russia actually was intervening in favor of Bashar al-Assad regime, and Turkey is in with US against Bashar al-Assad regime. So that is the whole complicated nature of war in Syria. There are multiple actors here. So if you look at it, here it is. This is Bashar al-Assad, the president in power in Syria. Russia supports it. Iran, Iraq, they support it. Hezbollah militants, Iranian troops are supporting it. Kurds, you can see, so green line is of support and red line is against. So who are against whom? So you can see Kurds here are actually against. Main fight of theirs is with Turkey. So Turkey is completely against Turks. Turkey is supporting Free Syrian Army. Kurds here are, you can see in multiple relations, you can see they are supporting Free Syrian Army. Turkey is also supporting Free Syrian Army. Kurds are fighting against Al-Qaeda, they are fighting against ISIS also, and Turkey is also fighting against ISIS. So this is the complicated nature of the war. You can see that those who are fighting against, they are also fighting amongst themselves. And in this process, the Islamic State became all powerful. Right now, there is strong fight going against Islamic State also. So this, you can see USA, France, Jordan, UK, all are supporting this Free Syrian Army, which was cropped up. Then the next news item is Pakistan should be declared state sponsor of terror. So this is US congressman, means US parliament. So here parliament in US is called Congress. Congress comprising of two houses. The lower house is House of Representatives, upper house is Senate. So in US House of Representatives, this bill has been introduced by US congressmen, which is seeking to review US ties with Pakistan, because it says that Pakistan has clearly, it is proved that it is supporting terrorism. So it has support given to Haqqani group. Even Osama bin Laden was there in Pakistan. So clearly support was given to him too. Haqqani network works against Afghanistan. Afghanistan also keeps on alleging that Pakistan is supporting terrorists who are fighting against Afghanistan, and they hide in Pakistan. So this is Haqqani network, one of them. So here such allegations being made say that there is clarity on this. So there is a need for reviewing. Already USA has reduced its assistance and support which it has been giving to Pakistan, the aid, financial aid which it is giving, because there is also some proof that at least a part of this money is going to terrorists also, which are again seeking to attack America. So that is why this bill is calling for a review again. So a similar bill had been introduced earlier, but in September 2016, but that has lapsed now. So again, a fresh bill has been introduced. So we'll see what steps would be taken, whether it would see the light of the day and steps would be taken or not. You can see US civil and military aid has sharply declined to Pakistan. It was $3.5 billion in 2011. Today it is less than $1 billion. So that is there. The last news item is finances of 3 Coal India arms may be hit this fiscal. So this is regarding the Maharatna PSU, Coal India Limited. It has 7 subsidiaries. These are coal producing subsidiaries. So these 3 of these are having their finances going down. This fiscal means this financial year, their production and sales have been poor. So there is a marginal profit or even losses which may be reported, as it is expected to be on these lines. 2 of these 3 have already been referred to BIFR, Board for Industrial and Financial Reconstruction, about 3 years ago. And still they carry the accumulated losses as such. So there are worries here. So the main reason they say is that coal demand has been low as such. That's why these coal producing subsidiaries are suffering. The government here in Coal India Limited has 79% shares. So that is the hold of government here. These are the Maharatna PSUs, the 7 months listed here. SAIL, GAIL, BHEL. Then you have Coal India Limited, which we discussed here, NTPC, ONGC, and Indian Oil Corporation. So these are the 7 Maharatna PSUs. These are the news items. Thank you.